Well, obviously, the first thing you have to do is you have to give the University of Iowa credit. They had a great plan tonight. Obviously, coached extremely well. Very talented. This is a tough venue to play. First time being here, it was electric in here tonight. So the first thing you got to do is you got to give Iowa all the credit in the world. I thought they had a really good plan on defense. They say we're an explosive offense. They weren't going to give up the big play. They played really soft and said that we were going to have to take all the underneath routes, and are we patient enough to do that all the way down the field? So I thought that was a really good plan. Thought our defense played unbelievably well and probably hasn't got enough credit this year for as well as they're playing. The whole first half, not only did they hold them statistically down to low numbers, but they just kept giving our offense the ball with great field position between special teams and defense. We weren't able to execute on offense and finish drives. We had a lot of yards, but we weren't able to finish drives. I think it's, we got to get better. I've said that before with our running game in between the tackles, so we can punch the ball in the end zone. Again, they were playing a soft coverage, and we're going to make us earn it all the way down the field. The thing I told the guys in the locker room is, you look at any really good season, there's always one game where a team has to gut it out and find a way to get a win, and we were able to do that tonight. Obviously, Trace McSorley, we've seen it now for a year and a half. One of the more mentally and physically tough players I've ever been around. Clutch player. And then Saquon Barkley. I cannot imagine that there's a better player in all of college football. I've been doing this for 23 years. The guy is special. I don't know what his stats were or what he did, but every time he touched the ball, I don't care if it was a 20-yard run or an 8-yard run, it was special. It really was. And the guy is a great leader on the sideline, couldn't be more positive, just tremendous. We found a way to get a win tonight. Obviously, Trace just told me he punted the ball at the end of the game there, and that's not who we are. That's not who he is. He got caught up in the moment. And then obviously, the other two things I wanted to mention real quickly is, we didn't have Torrance Brown tonight. Tremendous loss for us, tremendous young man. And then obviously, at left tackle, we played a redshirt freshman, started his first game. At right tackle, started his first game in Will Fries. We didn't have Chaz Wright. We didn't have Andrew Nelson for most of the game. And you got Will Fries, who went in and battled in a tough environment as a first start, on the edge. Open up the question.
James, on the last play, you guys called a timeout. What did you want? What did you expect from Iowa?
Well, we just, we had one timeout left. It was clearly going to be the last play of the game, so we called the timeout so we could talk it through and not rush, obviously, the most critical play of the game, and felt like we were going to get what we got. Similar coverage that had been giving us a hard time all night long. Felt like with Juwan, we had a height advantage, and we could kind of slip him through the middle of the field. And Trace hung in there, and Will Fries and our offensive line battled to give us just enough time to get him through there. But yeah, we just wanted to take some time to kind of talk it through and make sure that we're not rushing on the last play of the game with a chance to win.
Who does most of the talking in that? Because you have veteran OC, you, Trace has played a lot of ball. Who's doing most of the talking when you're?
Yeah, me and Ricky usually talk about kind of situations, how we want to kind of handle things. And then obviously, calling the plays. Joe will typically, ask me, my perspective on some things. Not all the time, just every once in a while. But most of the time, he's calling it, and then he's usually asking what the staff thinks, and then runs with it. Joe's our offensive coordinator, does a great job running the offense. Brent Pry's our defensive coordinator, does a great job running our defense. And Charles Huff, I think, has been fantastic on special teams as well. So typically in that moment, the worst thing you can have is a lot of people talking. We want to be calm and poised in those situations and go make a play.
Is that the situation there on that play, or are you making the call on 4th and goal with 7 seconds left on what you're going to do? And can you also talk about your confidence in going to Juwan in that moment?
I'm sorry, what was your first question?
You mentioned what you normally do on a play call situation where your coordinator is going to be making that call.
Correct.
In that critical of a moment?
Oh, yeah.
Is it you or is it him?
No, it's our coordinators that are making the call. Yeah, that's what they're hired to do. Yeah.
And your confidence in going to Juwan in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, you guys know, the guys that are with us, every week. Juwan Johnson has had an unbelievable off season, and really has played solid so far this year. So a night like tonight, I think, really can kind of improve his confidence, and he's done it in practice, and now he's been able to have a huge night tonight, and I think his production and confidence will skyrocket from here on out.
James, what was said after the Wally touchdown, 2 minutes left, where they took the lead going to that last drive?
What was said?
Yeah, like who spoke up, what was said to organize the offense?
Well, I think I think we were fortunate, obviously, because we've been in these situations. I mean, we've started out this year playing really well early on in games, but we were able to lean on our confidence from last year. And we've been in these situations all last year with a bunch of experienced players coming back. So it's not like one person just stood up. It's a sideline that believes that we're going to win every game we play. We're going to find a way to gut it out and grind it out. And fortunately we had those 2 timeouts at the end of the game, and we were able to make some plays moving the ball down the field and kept our poise. We, as you guys know, we worked that every single week in practice. And again, I think the most important thing is our guys believe.
James, can you talk about the game that Sharif Miller had, and did he discuss with you changing his number to honor Torrance?
Yeah, I thought Sharif obviously played extremely well. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but he hit me up as well of a number of guys last night about wanting to wear Torrance's jersey. He was the first one to hit me up, so we went in that direction. The game ball is going to go to Torrance tonight, Torrance is a guy that is universally respected in our program, from a leadership standpoint, from a production standpoint, just the whole package. He's a great friend, he's a great person, he's a great teammate. So he's got tremendous amount of respect in that locker room. So a bunch of guys wanted to go out and honor him tonight on the field.
Time for 2 more.
Barkley stayed in the block and that last play not even used as a decoy. Is that confidence in the rest of your offense and not going to the potential hiking candidate, or what was the thinking behind that?
Well, I think the ball was like on the 7-yard line, I think. So, in that situation, you have to take a shot to the end zone. That's what they were doing all night, is playing soft and make you throw the underneath stuff and then rally up and make the tackle. But, 4th and 7, last play of the game, the ball has to be thrown into the end zone or at least close to it. So, Saquon Barkley, in his job description is pass protection, so he's got to do that too.
Does this offense struggle at all when you're in the red zone, simply because you guys are so good at those 15, 20-yard, the plays and the gains that you're getting, the scores that you're getting are kind of in an expanded field when you crunch that down? Is that harder for this offense, or is that just harder for every offense?
No, I wouldn't say we struggle in the red zone. I think we've been really good in the red zone. I don't think we played great tonight in the red zone. I wouldn't paint it with that broad of a brush. I think it was what I said earlier is, you got to be able to run the ball and in between the tackles, and that's going to set everything else up from there. So we got to get better in that area, and I think the more consistency we can have on our offensive line, so we don't keep having moving parts there, that will help us. I think you got to be able to run the ball in the red zone. But I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think we've been really good in the red zone all year long. We just didn't do a great job tonight, and that's not us. You got to give Iowa credit. I think Iowa played extremely well tonight. They're very well coached. They're fundamentally sound. I thought they had a really good plan. If you guys remember Indiana last year, was rushing the defensive ends up the field. They used a similar game plan with their front to try to take some of the perimeter stuff away, and then they played a really soft coverage, say we're not going to give up the big plays, we're going to melt underneath all of the routes. And then, we missed a comeback on the sideline, or we threw the ball over Saquon's head. If a team's going to play that style of defense again, you got to hit the high percentage throws underneath and be patient enough to take the ball down the field. And I think that's when you get a chance to be really good, is when you're explosive, when you have opportunities to be explosive, and when you're forced to be patient. You got to be able to do both of those things, because depending on the week, that's how it's going to go.
James, what's the level of your concern with the field goal unit?
I don't. I mean, Tyler has obviously been very, very good for a number of years. We have got to be firmer. I mean, the ball came right through excuse me, the defender came right through the middle of our protection. I don't think it was the kick. I mean, the guy, when I watched it on the replay, the guy came, pretty much clean through. We obviously have got to get that cleaned up. We've got some starters off of that unit, trying to get some young guys in there and gain some experience. And from what I saw, they're not necessarily as consistent as they need to be right now. So we'll get that fixed. But yeah, that's something that we're going to have to get cleaned up. There's no doubt about it. The last thing that I'd like to say before I leave, I know Chris was just opening the door, and it's ridiculous that I have to address this, but that was not me on Sports Center today. I got about 100 nasty messages from people that thought that was me. That was not me. And it's somewhat ridiculous that I have to say that, but we do look a lot alike. But I was not on Sports Center today. And that was a comedian. He was a Penn State grad. He's an awesome guy, and we appreciate it. But just so we're clear,